Uncle Bert's last instruction was to feed the tree. The feed bag felt warm. Inside, something that looked like a shriveled kidney beat against my hand. I dropped it, my stomach churning as it pulsed on the damp grass of Willow Creek Cemetery. The note in my pocket crinkled as I stepped back. 3 rules, scrawled in shaky handwriting. Tend the graves, never speak names aloud, and feed the old willow at midnight. Simple enough, I thought. Until now. I'd inherited this job from Uncle Bert, the previous caretaker. He'd always been eccentric, but this was beyond strange. The bag of fleshy tubers sat accusingly at my feet, a weekly offering I was meant to continue. The wind whispered through the ancient willows, their branches reaching like gnarled fingers across the tombstones. In the growing twilight, shadows seemed to writhe across the ground. I shivered, suddenly aware of how alone I was among the dead. Curiosity gnawed at me. What harm could come from examining one of these things more closely? I picked up the discarded tuber, its warmth unsettling against my skin. Bringing it closer, I could make out veins beneath its surface, pulsing with an unnatural rhythm. That's when I heard it. A faint but unmistakable sound. A heartbeat. Not my own racing pulse, but something familiar ... Hauntingly so. My blood ran cold as recognition dawned. It was the same rhythm as my late grandmother's heartbeat, a sound I'd known intimately during her final days in hospice. I dropped the tuber again, wiping my hands furiously on my jeans. This was impossible. Grotesque. What kind of sick joke was Uncle Bert playing? But deep down, I knew this was no joke. The eerie silence of the graveyard, broken only by the rustle of leaves, felt oppressive now. Watchful, as if the very ground beneath my feet had become aware of my presence. I should have left then. Should have run and never looked back. But the need to understand, to make sense of this madness, overrode my instincts. I found myself moving towards the oldest part of the cemetery, where my grandmother's grave lay beneath the sprawling canopy of the cemetery's namesake, the old willow. The massive tree loomed before me, its trunk gnawed and twisted like something out of a nightmare. Roots broke through the earth, snaking between headstones and disappearing into the soft soil. Had they always been so prominent? My grandmother's plot was here, marked by a simple stone. I hesitated, Uncle Bert's warning echoing in my mind. Never speak names aloud. But surely, that was just superstition. "I'm sorry, Gran," I whispered, reaching for the shovel I'd left propped against a nearby oak. "I need to know." The first shovelful of earth felt like a violation. By the third, my arms were shaking from more than just exertion. Something was wrong. The soil was warm, almost feverish to the touch, and there was movement beneath, a subtle shifting that sent ice through my veins. I should have stopped. Every instinct screamed at me to run, but I was in too deep now, literally and figuratively. The shovel hit something solid, and my heart leapt into my throat. This was it. I cleared away the remaining dirt with trembling hands. What I found wasn't a coffin. It wasn't my grandmother's remains. Instead, a mass of thick, pulsing roots filled the grave. They writhed slowly, obscenely, gorged with something that looked disturbingly like blood. I stumbled back, bile rising in my throat. The roots, they were alive. More than that, they seemed to reach for me. Tendrils questing blindly through the air. And I could hear it now, clear as day, a heartbeat. My grandmother's heartbeat, coming from deep within that mass of twisted wood. Realization hit me like a physical blow. The old willow wasn't just a tree. It was the cemetery itself, a monstrous, hungry thing that fed on the dead. And I had just disturbed its meal. The ground beneath my feet began to tremble. All around me, I could hear a chorus of muffled heartbeats rising from the graves. The roots in my grandmother's plot thrashed more violently now, breaking free of the earth. I ran. Blind panic propelled me through the tombstones, branches whipping at my face as I fled. Behind me, I could hear the groaning of wood, the cracking of stone. The entire cemetery seemed to be coming alive, awakened by my transgression. I reached the gates, lungs burning, only to find them sealed shut. Vines and roots had wound themselves through the iron bars, forming an impenetrable barrier. I was trapped. Turning back, I saw the true horror of Willow Creek Cemetery revealed. The ground rippled like the surface of a pond, graves disgorging masses of pulsing roots. The old willow at the center had grown, its branches reaching impossibly far, blotting out the sky. And there, shambling towards me with jerky, puppet-like movements, was a figure I recognized all too well. Uncle Bert, his skin gray and papery, eyes blank and unseeing. His mouth worked silently, but I could read the words on his lips. You shouldn't have looked. I pressed myself against the gates, searching desperately for an escape. The roots were creeping closer, seeking to drag me down into the hungry earth. Uncle Bert's animated corpse drew nearer, a grotesque warning of my own fate if I failed to escape. In that moment of terror, I understood the true nature of my inheritance. This wasn't just a job. It was a prison sentence, a lifetime of servitude to the insatiable hunger of Willow Creek. The caretaker didn't tend the graves. They were the jailer, the sole witness to this abomination, forced to feed it lest they become part of it themselves. The roots reached my feet, coiling around my ankles with surprising strength. I could feel the pull of the earth, the siren song of 1,000 stolen heartbeats calling me to join them. Uncle Bert's cold hand closed around my wrist, his touch carrying the chill of the grave. As I was dragged down, my last coherent thought was of the bag of tubers, the feed, left abandoned by the gates. I realized now that they weren't just food for the willow. They were a piece of each buried soul, kept alive and suffering to sustain this monstrous ecosystem. The earth closed over my head, roots worming their way into my flesh. In the suffocating darkness, I felt my own heartbeat begin to sync with the pulsing rhythm of Willow Creek. My last shred of humanity cried out in despair as I became one with the hungry ground. I don't know how long I've been here, trapped in this limbo between life and death. Time has no meaning in the embrace of the willow, but I know my role now. I am the new caretaker, my consciousness spread thin across the roots and soil of the cemetery. Each night as the clock strikes midnight, I feel myself rise. My body, now just a puppet of wood and stolen life, shambles to the gates. I leave the bag of feed, pieces of myself, and countless others, for the next poor soul who will inherit this cursed duty. And I wait, silently hoping that someday someone will be strong enough to resist the call of curiosity, that they'll heed the warnings and starve this abomination, freeing us all from our endless torment. But until then, the old willow feeds, and Willow Creek Cemetery grows ever hungrier.